You are now listening to TOL Podcast, Thinking Out Loud with your host, J Lip.
TOLpodcast.com. It's your boy J Lip. This is Thinking Out Loud. We back. I got the big homie, my brother, by way of Columbus, representing Ghana, West Africa. I got the big bro G. G, what's good, baby?
Yo, what up? How you doing?
Man, I'm blessed and highly favored, sir. How you?
I'm all right. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir, man. We got to chop it up real quick for them people out there that don't know. We're talking about potential presidential candidate Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey recently gave a very profound speech at the Golden Globe Awards this past weekend. And in her speech, she made a lot of people team Oprah that may not have even considered her as being a potential candidate to lead this nation to greatness. Now, when you currently look at who's in office right now, you know, like him or love him, it ain't really a high bar that's been set.
Yes, for sure.
There's still a lot of folks out there that are thinking, maybe the bar is so low that taking Oprah into consideration to lead the nation may not be the most appropriate decision because it's not honoring the true responsibility of being head of state.
Man, I'm here for Oprah 2020. I think anything, like you said, the bar has been set so low. And if people were willing to go to the polls and vote for Donald Trump, which they did, I mean, Oprah is several notches higher than that. You know what I mean? And the thing is, she actually, given the political climate today, I think she has a great chance to win. I mean, who doesn't like Oprah?
Granted, we can say that she has a chance to win and her probability of winning is high. However, should she even be a candidate, is it the fact that Trump being in office, lowering the bar to a space where any and everybody who doesn't really have a political background or even political prowess, should they even be considered because this man has basically redefined what it takes to be a president?
I don't think people should look at, if Oprah was to run, right? I don't think that they should, I think it's a discredit or a disservice to her to judge her as a candidate based on, her being a TV personality. I mean, she's much more than that.
What is she then?
Her philanthropic endeavors, her businesses, and what she's done politically, speaking out and also, putting her efforts towards, awareness for women and diversity and education and things like that. I think those are merits that stand in her favor alone, not just Oprah, the TV personality. You know what I mean? And if you were to forget about all of that, she has one of the greatest stories, for an American, her being rags to riches. And I mean, not riches, but like billions. You know what I'm saying?
So like rags to wealth.
Rags to billionaire. Like, I mean, that's just your story can't get any better than that. So I mean, to look at her as just, another celebrity running for president, we've already had another celebrity, she shouldn't be running, I think is a bit of a disservice to her as a person and as a candidate if she was to run.
But I gotta disagree on the stance that you've mentioned. She has a lot of philanthropic endeavors. She is business savvy. She's a media mogul. She has her own network. She's been able to finesse her way from a talk show to basically being a staple in the black community as far as a cultural figurehead and a speaker. But how does that make her a candidate to lead a nation politically? Have we gotten any, or have we received any inclination that she's capable to do a better job than any other person who has been successful in those categories to lead the nation when it comes to diplomacy, when it comes to wartime affairs, when it comes to immigration, when it comes to everything that is a topic of debate when we get to the presidential election? How is she going to be able to speak to that given the knowledge base that she's displayed thus far? Because to me, I don't see what she can say as far as her plans for the military. I don't know how she can help define what is necessary to protect the borders if that is something that she's asked, or even something as simple as how do we revamp the educational system that has suffered the greatest disparity of setbacks between classes and races. Like that's the part that Come on, what?
Okay, so this is the thing. That's what you're saying, but
those are the questions they're going to ask her.
Right, but what inclination do you have that she won't be able to answer those questions? Have you seen, you have no circumstance to point to where she is in that scenario, she's been asked that question or questions like that, and she fell flat on her face or looked dumb trying to answer it. You know what I mean? So the thing is, like, the disqualific or the scenarios you're creating suggesting what would disqualify her or what should stop her from
I would
becoming
say what would be a deterrent. I wouldn't say stop.
yeah,
but what would be a deterrent?
what would be a deterrent are the same, is the same thing the opposite way. If she could answer those questions. And the thing is, we just don't know. But I do think that Oprah is a highly intelligent woman. And the thing is, those questions that you're talking about were asked of Donald Trump. And he couldn't answer those questions. But apparently that doesn't matter.
So you're saying because the standard of what we consider to be qualified candidate is so low that she should be able to get a shot and she should pursue that because it's not any worse than what we already have.
That's not what I'm saying.
Be careful, because
that's not what I'm saying.
You was about to say yes, my brother. What you trying to say?
What I'm trying to say is we need to be careful in the sense that judging her based on standards being so low. I think in a field full of political experts, people who have been in the field for a long time, she could hold her own. That's what I truly believe. I don't think it has anything to do with the bar being set so low. Anybody running for, that's not true, but I'm pretty sure.
What were you about to say?
I was going to say anybody running for president this next time around is going to be a better candidate than Donald Trump. But
I'm glad you retracted that.
Careful.
Thank you.
Yeah, you never know. But what I'm saying is, like, it's not about the bar being set so low. I truly believe that she's an intelligent woman. She's shown that business, basically everything Donald Trump claimed to be, she actually is. Everything Donald Trump claimed to do, she's actually done. You know what I mean? In terms of her money, she doesn't have to lie about her money. There's no question about how much money she has. She's not, drowning in all types of litigation and lawsuits and whatnot. She's never had to file bankruptcy. You know what I'm saying? So, like, she could stand on her own as a very strong candidate, regardless of how low or the bar's been set for president.
Well, let's be honest and break it down for a second. When we have this conversation, we talk about her. We're talking about Oprah, the entity, the mogul, the figurehead. Yeah. But let's break down what also an Oprah candidacy represents, right? The first female president, potentially, correct?
Right. Yep.
Okay, so is that important to you?
I think that would be huge for the first not only the first female president, but the first African American female president. I mean, that's crazy.
A little bit of the glory gets taken off of that, though, because we've already had a black president. So
right.
She would be the first. She would be the first female woman, whichever is the preferred term at this point, because I always get confused. But we'll say the first female.
The first woman president to be black, first woman president ever to be a black woman. That's something.
I know, and it definitely is going to go down in history as far as being a milestone. But how important is it to make sure that we're making history versus making the right decisions when we vote? Because what is the justification that you would make looking back at the Barack Obama candidacy, both terms, if there was a better candidate that aligned with your moral and ethical compass as far as what you see the direction of the nation being headed towards as far as like goal setting? If there was a better candidate that aligned with what you would like to have this nation do and how you would like to see this nation be represented, would you have voted against Barack Obama to vote within the favor of your own personal belief system despite the history that it could have made?
Oh, absolutely. I'm a proponent of that for sure. Like,
okay, so you're not I vote for Barack because he's black because I want to make history.
Hell no. Nah. You definitely.
My man said hell no.
Yeah, because like that's the thing I feel like people don't do enough of is, first of all, we put too much of an emphasis on the presidency, but that's a whole different topic. But you got to vote for someone who is going to advance. Everybody goes and they cast their vote. It should be a selfish act. You should vote for yourself and what you want to see. That's the whole point. That's how I see it. That's what I believe. I believe voting should be a selfish act. You only have one to cast. cast. You should cast it for whatever it is that you believe.
But if I were to challenge that and say, but what if I believe that it's important for the young people of color, the young children of color, to see someone that looks like them maintain that position that's never been done before? And again, we're talking about pre-Obama, during primary, during the presidential election. What if what you believe so wholeheartedly is that you want to make history so that the little black boys and the black girls out there can see someone that looks like them in a position that they've never been before? What if that's what's important?
You're saying if that was in contradiction with your moral, beliefs or, financial, political affiliations and things like that.
Correct.
I'm not a sentimental voter.
Break it down.
It just so happens that Obama's ideals and principles and policies aligned with mine.
So it sounds like you're breaking it in half between category of voters. You have an emotional vote versus a logical voter.
Yeah, and most voters are emotional voters.
Right. I'm not saying they're not. I'm just asking you, is it a true statement?
But I believe, yes, exactly. I am breaking it down like that. And I believe that, you're better served by being a logical voter. Okay. Take the emotion out of it. Because at the end of the day, all that matters is results.
Okay. And so just so we're clear, let's say we take a Mitt Romney, for instance, and let's say you believe whatever Mitt Romney is a proponent of, he down the line represents what's going to allow for your family to have success in this current state of America versus being a part of history in electing the first black president whom you may agree with 60-75% of what he is about. You would still vote with who has 100% of your interest in line versus making history based on the content, or rather the color of the skin that represents the racial milestone in America's history.
If candidate A aligns with my positions,
let's say white
80%. If a white candidate aligned 80% with my positions and beliefs, and a black candidate was 40% or 30%, I'm going to go with the white candidate.
Understood. And now
even if it meant making history.
Well, you're definitely not. Yeah, you're definitely not making history. You're continuing with the trend of a white president. So with that being said, and I'm not shaming you for that, I want to get to the point back to Oprah. What you had mentioned more than once was the fact that she would be the first woman or the first female president. To me, it almost sounds like you would look at that milestone as being worth voting for off the strength. Because you can't tell me at this point that what Oprah represents stands and aligns with everything that you would like to see from a political perspective, because she hasn't been challenged on it yet, and we don't know who she'd be running against.
No, but given her positions on social issues, her political affiliation, and I'm inclined to believe that we would be in in agreement for a lot of the same issues, which is why it's an easy decision for me. Now, the thing for me though is, again, I feel like the stance that you're coming with is Oprah a good candidate for president?
No, the stance that I'm coming with is
careful. We need to be careful with looking at Oprah as a possible candidate because the bar has been set so low, right?
Correct. Would we even be considering supporting Oprah as a candidate blindly like people are at this point without even knowing who our competition would be? Now, of course, if you're talking about 2020, if we're talking about a re-election cycle for Trump, then yes, we would know he'd be going against her. However, if we were to transplant Oprah in the place of Barack Obama during his candidacy run, would we still have the same level of confidence if it was Oprah versus a Mitt Romney or Oprah versus any of the other Democratic candidates during the primary? And that's the question that I think people need to really ask themselves. I think that people are so desperate at this point to look for any type of refuge better than the leadership that we have right now, that it hyper extends what the potential greatness that Oprah could be as a president. I think it skyrockets it amplifies it more than what
Absolutely.
It actually could be. But that's a bad thing, because it's
not a bad thing, actually.
You're not using a standard though. You're using what the status quo is now, but you're not using a presidential standard. That's my problem.
The thing with the issue with what you're saying is that there is no standard because the standard is constantly shifting, right?
I don't know if it's constantly. That's not a standard.
Public perception, I'll put it to you like this, right? No matter who becomes president in 2020, well, we know it's not going to be a Republican. I can almost guarantee that. But
I'd put money that Trump gets reelected.
yeah, no, that's not happening.
Well, this is going to be on wax. I'll put money up Trump's getting reelected, but go ahead. We'll address that at a later date.
Right. Whoever wins the presidency is going to be a drastically more progressive. The field of people running is going to be drastically more progressive and more to the left than we've seen in decades.
Right. Local history, right?
And the only reason for that is because, again, and this is furthering my point here as to how the standard keeps shifting. So Democrats during Bill Clinton's era, after Ronald Reagan and the first Bush, Democrats thought in order to win office, they had to be more conservative. So they moved more towards the middle right. And those were the Democrats then, because that's the mindset that the country was in. Today, Bill Clinton would actually, based on his ideals and policies, would be considered a moderate right politician, right? So we've moved, and I think Donald Trump becoming president has shifted that even further to where most people now are on the left. They would consider moderate, but 10, 15 years ago, that would have been drastically left. You get what I'm saying? And so the standard keeps changing. And so what's going to be more acceptable is going to be different. And hence why there's room for people like Oprah for their ideals. There's a space for that. And they're going to support.
Okay, so with Oprah, you're obviously a fan. You obviously would support that. And you also mentioned that you would not be voting off of emotion, making history off of race and ethnicity.
If she can prove that she's a viable candidate on policy.
No, it ain't no if she can prove. You've already said that you already believe she can. That's where the challenge of the conversation came in, where you already believe she's capable.
And I do believe she can. But what I'm saying is, in the event that she cannot, then no, she would not be getting my vote, right? You have to prove that competency. I believe that she can. I believe that she's competent. I believe that she's capable, but you still have to show me.
Okay. And then last question, we're talking about leadership for the nation. But I feel like with Oprah, she's more of a modern day leader for the black culture. She's considered a leader. Whether people agree or disagree with some of her delivery and with some of her eccentricity, some people are even judgmental of her programming, she's a figurehead of the culture. She's a spokesperson for the culture. With that being said, taking yourself out of the emotional aspect and looking at it completely logically, it sounds like if she were to run against Trump, but she did not align with what you believe in, you'd be willing to vote for Trump against her?
I'm sorry, repeat that.
Would you be willing to re-elect Trump over Oprah if Oprah proves herself to not be, in your own words, competent and aligning with the moral and ethical compass that you vote with, which is whichever is the benefit for you and your family's success in this world? Would you be willing to re-elect Trump if he proves himself to be better and more aligned, even if he's aligned 20% and Oprah's aligned 0%?
But that's
outside of the realm of reality to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
It
All
is.
Right.
So,
I mean, that's your right to believe that. And that's your truth. And what do you think about those though that do vote to make history? Those that do vote to be a part of a milestone? Those that say, "I want to see the first woman president. I want to see the first woman black president." What is there any shame in that to you? Is that?
No, that's your prerogative. I mean, it's your vote. Do with it what you will. I personally believe that more times than not, they should align. But in the event that it doesn't, you should go with logic. That's just how I think, how I process, and what I think serves people better is making decisions based on the numbers, the facts.
Okay. And with that being said, taking the emotion out of it too, if Trump hadn't been subject to allegations of sexual harassment or sexual misconduct, if he hadn't made crude and lewd statements about minorities and women, and if he hadn't portrayed himself in a way that makes him emotionally be received as a negative figure, but his policy aligned itself with what could benefit you, aka tax reform, aka strengthening the infrastructure of the country with job increase and also with increased border security to limit immigration, do you feel like he would be a more popular candidate to you versus someone who is like an Oprah? And what I'm basically saying is I'm challenging your statement about logical versus emotional.
I understand. But see, my stance on those positions help those the less fortunate, which is the complete opposite of Trump's position on those policies.
But G, that's emotional. You're talking about helping people. That's an emotion.
No, but
it's not logical.
No, it is, because it's policy. The policy is what's logical. Voting off of emotion is like, oh, I can't vote for Trump because he's a pussy grabber. You know what I'm saying?
Right, or he's a bigot, or he's a racist, or he's an idiot. Whatever you feel, that's an emotion.
Yes, that's exactly my point. But if I'm going based off of policy, things around taxes, for example, if Trump was to raise corporate taxes, or if Trump was to cut taxes for the middle class, like actually cut taxes for the middle class, and not say he is and actually do something opposite, yeah, I'd prefer that. You get what I'm saying?
Okay, so you would vote for Trump if he was able to commit to what his political agenda was claimed to be during the election. That's what you're saying. Because he claimed to cut. He said he was going to cut taxes for the middle class. He was going to bring back jobs to the middle America. He claimed these things. He said he was going to make sure that the corporations were paying their fair share. That he was going to tax the highest earners in the country. These are things that he said. So it almost sounds like Big G.
No, it sounds
like G that you would vote for my man's.
No, but
your man's. That's your man's.
Nah, his position on immigration reform, his position on
he just wants to keep the country safe. That's all.
Oh, please.
I'm saying,
as a fellow immigrant, I've heard it all when it comes to that kind of stuff, and that kind of dog whistle talk. You know what I'm saying? Like it's blatant. And his most of his policy positions on education, on all those things, don't align with mine. So it was a no-brainer. And you could even tell by the people selected for the positions around him. I mean, it's really that simple. But for real, my position on this, I don't want it to get misconstrued. I'm not saying that OPRAH is my candidate of choice for 2020. What I am saying is that OPRAH deserves a chance on the basis of her life, she married.
She has her own laurels. She can stand on her own laurels. She's proven to you that she's an upstanding enough. Right, I got you.
Yep, that's exactly my stance. So it's not like, oh, we're getting into this hype that Oprah, can be president because the bar's been set so low by Donald Trump, another TV personality. We need to be careful about, who we believe in as a candidate for president. I think Oprah is deserving of that if she wanted to do it, and she deserves that respect based on, what she's accomplished in life and her positions on certain issues.
Gee, I got to give it to you. I actually feel like you have convinced me. I came in here with the perception that a lot of folks out here are very excitable when it comes to what's going on with the Hollywood situation, the Me Too, Oprah speaking out, and people jumping on the bandwagon of what she represents.
That was a joke, though, right? You saw the speech.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
She did her thing on that speech.
Say it again.
I said she did her thing on that speech.
No, she killed it, and that's another topic that I hope we can have you back on. But for this, I will give it to you. That definitely I understand your perspective, and it's not that. What I would say is not that of the popular opinion, at least what's being shared and displayed in the media, the news media specifically, and in social media. A lot of people are bandwagoners. However, I do believe that there is a lot of truth to what you said. Representing herself based on her accomplishments is critical for her to be considered someone who's truly authentic and deserving of even pursuing the title of the head of state. So with that being said, I appreciate your candid conversation. Once again, this is TOL Podcast.com, Thinking Out Loud with your boy J Lip, my man G. Thank you for joining us, bro.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Thanks for having me.
Hey, y'all, thank you for joining us. You know who I am. You know what this is. Thinking Out Loud. We out.
This episode of TOL Podcast was executive produced by J Lip. And for more episodes, we're on YouTube, SoundCloud, and now iTunes. Go to TOLpodcast.com for the latest. Thank you for listening.